Our early years, we participated in the Brainerd 4th of July parade. I was telling the group that we were decorating an old car to be used as a float. And a little boy walked up, and of course we were all in costume. And he said, asked us who we were, And someone said, the Daughters of the American Revolution. And he looked at us and he said, "You don't look old enough to be that."
What happened is you had the Indian Wars before then, and the ancestors at that point, the people felt they shouldn't have to pay for that war. That was for Britain. Britain was saying, you're going to pay for this. They were charging them all sorts of taxes for their tea and everything else, and they says, wait a minute, we're not happy with this. And so that's what they fought for. They fought for their freedom.
They were fighting for freedom. Taxation without representation was their big motto that they used. And they felt that England was ruling over them and they were subservient and had no voice. It's just important that we realize that we have to be represented. We cannot have a government that to which we are subservient. We need to have a government in which we are a part of.
We weren't a state yet, so there was no Minnesota. And it was kind of like most of your population was out east.
At that period of time, the men had organized the Sons of the American Revolution, but the women could not belong.
They wouldn't let women join. So a year later, the women says, this isn't right. We are going to have our own organization, and we do.
It's a women's organization based upon a person's relationship to someone who was part of the American Revolution.
I'm Paula Persons. I was born in Brainerd. Actually, I'm fourth generation in Brainerd. My ancestor was just an ordinary man. Christopher Hite came from Bedford, Pennsylvania. My ancestor joined the Revolutionary War, signed up when he was 17 years old. So he goes and fights. The only thing that was important about him was he did fight for 4 months in the elite part of it, where they actually would go in and cause problems for the British. They'd do skirmishes, and then they'd come back, and that was something that you were picked for, and it was very hard to get in. And then when he left the war, he was one of, in Bedford, Connecticut, under his commander, there were 50 that were enlisted at that point. Only 4 made it all the way through the war, and my ancestor was one of them.
I'm Dorace Jeane Goodwin, and I was a charter member of this chapter 44 years ago. 1977 we were, that was when we became a chapter. Well, we'll start with the original James Sutton came to the United States, or to America, in 1650. He was in the 2nd North Carolina Regiment, Continental Army, and it was mustered in 1775. After the war, the family moved to Tennessee. And then the family moved from Tennessee to Texas. And in 1946, we were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, we moved here in 1947.
It was a very prestigious group. A lot of people from the Brainerd area will remember the names. There was a Mabel Ann Holt. Dorace Jeane Goodwin was one of the founding people. Betty Earhart, Lunel Teslo, Joyce Stensrud. These are names people know. Lois Henneman, her Patriots, the one, Captain Robert Orr, that started this.
The chapter was founded on December 7th, 1977, and Lois Henneman was our organizing regent, and her ancestor was Captain Robert Orr, And so we chose to name our chapter Captain Robert Orr.
DAR is known for patriotism, it's known for historic preservation and education. We want to encourage that here. If you don't know your history, you could repeat it. And so we want to know this, and it's just something that is fascinating to know what some of these patriots did. They were such brave people. Some of those patriots are women. They actually supplied food to the troops. So it's just cool that you can read about that, and kids can read about that, and when you read about it, you get a kid that piques an interest, and maybe they'll become a historian. We have a contest, essay contest. We actually had a national winner come from Brainerd, which Bridget Wells in 7 years ago, 2019, she won about women's suffragette movement. We send the information to the schools. It's a different essay question every year. And the teachers teach from that. We have Constitution Week, where we go into the schools. We give them copies of the Constitution so they know what's going on, so they know their history.
Regarding historic preservation, in terms of what we've done for the community, we're sitting in the midst of that with this beautiful garden around us.
With the help of the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, they have given us money several times, and then we buy flowers. It costs us almost $1,000 a year to plant the flowers, to take care of the grounds here, to make it look good. And then we do graves. We clean veteran graves. We've probably cleaned over 700 graves. And then it helps. People now, we're noticing, are taking better care of some of the graves because they're seeing what we're doing. We have to honor those who went before us.
We tend to think that we live in the present, and we tend to think that what we are doing is new and fresh and never before thought of. And we need to go back to history and see what has happened and see that there are that perhaps the circumstances we are living in have been lived in before.
And historic preservation, if you don't have some of those symbols, our flag, you can lose it, and that's not good.
To be a patriot means to love your country.
You're fighting for what you feel are your rights, what you feel is right. That's what a patriot is to me. We're a community service organization. Already this year, and it's the end of August when we're doing this, over 2,106,000 hours of community service have been done by women. Our group is only 35 women, but it's amazing. We do a lot with different veteran organizations, helping children, helping veterans, PTSD, things like that. And last year we served over 110 meals to Vietnam veterans. We started that a couple of years ago. We serve them a meal and then apple pie and ice cream, because you have to remember our Vietnam veterans didn't get the homecoming that they should have. We feel this is important. I had one woman come to me and she says, "Thank you for doing this. I could never get my husband to do anything." And she says, "And the nice thing is, I have someone now who I can talk to as a spouse of a Vietnam veteran." We remember the women. We were down at the state fair, ran into a woman, waiting in line on a bus. "Where are you from?" "I'm from Brainerd." "Oh, where do you work?" "Teen Challenge." I says, "Oh, I've helped with that Daughters of the American Revolution." "Oh, they do wonderful things for us. We're doing gravestones." Found out we raised some of these because Civil War, there's some of them that are only 4 inches up. So we raised one up, and I was down at Fort Snelling. "How much do these weigh?" 250 pounds. I says, "I knew that was heavy." 2 of us are using there, and we're working on it, but we got it up. And then we sit and we talk about it, and then it gets out into the community. And what are you doing? "Well, we're doing this and this, and we're helping. I'm collecting money for this. Do you want to donate We're honoring our heritage, what we fought for, what people have fought for in the past. I was in Brainerd and I talked to somebody and he says, well, where are you going? Well, I've got a DAR meeting. You're part of Daughters of the American Revolution? I says, yeah, you know about it? Oh, sure, that's really big out in Maine. We have people that come from all over Minnesota to be a member of here because they could join their number of chapters down in Minneapolis. But we have such a good time here, they kind of like us. We have members that come down once a month that come from Deer River, they come from Onamia, they come from Little Falls, they come from Brainerd. So yes, we kind of do the Brainerd Lakes area, but we've done some stuff over in Garrison, Pine Center. One of our members lives in Park Rapids, so she did a nice presentation on the Constitution in Park Rapids. Are we growing? Well, you have to prove your heritage if you can join. But we're getting younger members that say, this is kind of a fun group. They're having a good time, let's join. I think it's the people. We have fun, we do important things. Our current President General is Jeane Storage, and she says, illuminate our legacy. That's what is important to all of us, and I want people to be proud of that we have a chapter here in Brainerd. We're a good group. If you want to join, you can come to a meeting, see what you think of us, and hopefully you'll say, you know, I like this group of women. Let's do this, because we're all age groups from our 20s to our 90s and everything in between. And there's something for everybody there. We continue to grow, we continue to change, and that's what it's all about.
Production costs for this program have been made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the members of Lakeland PBS.